Hi folks, in this video we're going to learn about the fundamentals of the Grade Center in the UNM Learn system. This is the first in a series of videos on the Grade Center, so we're going to cover the basics first and then some more advanced features in later videos. The Grade Center is somewhat complicated. It has lots of features, but it also does the fundamental things that you want to do in a largely automated fashion. So we're going to look primarily at those fundamentals now, but keep in mind that the Grade Center can do a lot more. And as you use it more, you may find things and learn new things that you find to be really helpful. In this video, you will learn how to add graded items to your course and how that creates grade columns in your Grade Center, how grade columns track student submissions and grades, how to access the needs grading queue and the full Grade Center, how columns, rows, and cells work in the full Grade Center, how to create new columns in the full Grade Center, and how students access their grades and what they see. So when you're using the UNM Learn system, you're going to be creating a variety of items that are graded, that have points associated with them. They could be assignments, quizzes, discussions, tests, journals, blogs, and any of the other types of graded items in Learn. So in this course, I'm going to go to a course content page and then go into a module so we can see some of those types of items that would have points associated with them. So we're here in Module 1, and I'm going to scroll down. You can see that I have 3 items here that are graded items. One of them is a discussion, one is a written assignment, and the other is a quiz. So all of these are things that I created in here that have points associated with them. And the great thing about the Grade Center is that once you create any of these kinds of items, it automatically creates a column in the Grade Center with the number of points that you associate with it. So Learn does basic things like this for you automatically. So we can go from here to the Grade Center, and the Grade Center is one of those items that's in your course management menu here on the left side. You can see that you can open the Grade Center area, and you have a few options here for accessing grades in different ways. You have a needs grading queue, and then you have the full Grade Center. So the needs grading queue is something that you will use quite frequently. When students turn things in, they're going to appear in your needs grading queue, and you can go there and see them and grade them. So we'll take a quick peek at the needs grading queue. And here it is. It looks like I have a couple of student submissions here. I could click on either of them to grade it, or I could click grade all to grade everything that's in here in succession. So needs grading is something that you'll use frequently. But then we have the full Grade Center. And that's where we're going to see the columns that were created for any items that we've created in this course that have points associated with them. So something you'll want to look at when you first go in here is the scroll bar across the bottom. It's right here. And we can scroll to the right and see more of the columns that were created. I want to note that for a few of you, it's possible that you won't see this scroll bar at the bottom. If you're on a Mac computer, in some cases, there's a system setting that prevents the lower scroll bar from appearing in the Grade Center. So if you're using a Mac, and if you don't see it here, you can contact Learn Support and they'll help you change that setting to get this lower scroll bar. You can reach Learn Support at learn@unm.edu. If you're on a PC rather than a Mac, you shouldn't run into this at all. So here in the Grade Center, we see columns. We see the 3 kinds of assessments that we created that have points associated with them. And a couple of the basic things to notice about columns in the Grade Center is, first of all, if you point to the head of the column, you get this grade information bar that appears above it. And that's an easy way to see what's going on with that column, the possible points, what type of column it is. In this case, it's a discussion column, the name of the column, and how many of your students have submitted, along with the number of attempts that have been submitted but still need grading. So a lot of information there just by pointing to the head of the column that you can see pretty quickly. So I could see that for the Module 1 discussion, but I could see the different information for this assignment column. So the next thing to note is that in addition to columns, you have rows. And these are where your students are listed, last name, first name. And so because you have them in here as rows, you can go to any row and go to any column and see what the student grade is for that assessment. In this case, the one I'm pointing to, the student got 4 points. And if I go up to the head of the column again, I can see that the possible points were 5. So this student got 4 points out of 5 on this discussion. Those are the columns and rows, and they intersect at cells for specific submissions of assignments by your students. So you've probably already noticed about the cells that some of them have grades in them, others have the little double dashes, and others have these other little symbols. So the ones with grades in them are ones that have been submitted by the student and have been graded by you or by someone in this course who is a teaching assistant or an instructor who is permitted to grade these assessments. And the double dashes mean that there is no submission by the student and no grade given to that student for that item. So a double dash basically means student hasn't submitted this yet. And then you have these other icons. The little yellow icon with the exclamation point inside it means that the student has submitted the assignment and it needs grading. So these two items here that have the yellow symbol are in my needs grading queue. And we saw earlier that there were two items in my needs grading queue. And then you have this other symbol here that means attempt in progress. So this is something that the student is currently working on but has not submitted. So that's what this information in the cells means. You may also notice that the columns, as well as any cells that you point at, they have a little gray downward pointing icon whenever you point to either the heading of the cell or any individual cell. And that gives us an edit menu for either the column or for individual student submissions. Let's look at the column edit menu first. I'm going to open it for Module 1 discussion. You can see that you have a whole bunch of options here. We're covering the fundamentals of the Grade Center here, so we're not going to look at all of them. But you can find all kinds of information about this column here, including one that you would use frequently, which is edit column information. And that would tell you how this column was set up, and you could actually change some of the settings for it. You also have that kind of a drop-down menu for any of the cells that you point to. So let's point to one that has a grade in it. This one right here. I can drop down a little menu, and this is a smaller set of options. One of them is View Grade Details. So if you wanted to know the specifics about what the student submitted and how it was graded, you could find it on that Grade Details page. One more thing to note about the rows in your Grade Center. You may notice that you have a student listed by the name of Demo User. That's an account that's automatically generated that can help you see what's going on in your Grade Center by looking at the ways things total up for a sample student. So it's a very useful thing to have in your Grade Center. If you don't happen to see it there, it will be automatically generated if you go into Student View for your course. So you click this Go to Student View button, and then you exit from Student View. As soon as you do that, the demo user is created, and you can then use that sample account to track the way things are working in your Grade Center. So there are just two more fundamental things that we're going to look at in the Grade Center, and the first is creating columns. So you may have work that you are collecting from your students or that you have collected from your students that you did not use the UNM Learn system to collect. So you may have received it in person, in class. And if you want to track those student assessments through the UNM Learn system, you can create your own columns in here. So to do that, I'm going to go up to Create Column. And I can give the column a name. And I can scroll down and give it a certain number of points and submit. There are some other features on that screen we just looked at that you can use in various ways, and we'll take a look at those in future videos. But I have added an extra column here, and you may have to scroll to the right to see it. Any new column that you create lands at this right end of the Grade Center by default. And here we see that column that I just created. So those are fundamental things about how the Grade Center works. We're going to take a look at one more thing that we've noticed that faculty often wonder about, and that is, what do the students see when they go to the Grade Center? So the students don't access it this way. They don't have access to the full Grade Center. They wouldn't be able to see other students' grades. However, you probably have an item on your course menu called My Grades, and that's where students would go to see their individual grades. So I'm actually going to go into Student View to see what the students see, and then I'm going to go to My Grades. And this is what the My Grades page looks like for students in this course. I can see that I have a couple of total columns. That's something I would probably want to think about and narrow that down to one column, perhaps eliminate one of those columns. And I can also see that we now have 4 assignments. I can see the number of possible points. And if a real student were looking at this, they would see their score here on anything that they've submitted that has been graded. So that's how MyGrades works, and we've taken a look at the fundamentals of the Grade Center. We'll go into more of the specific features in follow-up videos to this video. Thank you for watching this video. You can check out the other videos in the series by going to the UNM Center for Digital Learning channel on YouTube. Thanks.